article about it was in like the filming world news article about an actress. I can't remember who it was now. That had been cast as Jacinda Arden, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, which in a film about that Hollywood is making about the aftermath of the Christchurch attacks. For those of you who are confused at home right now, yeah, same.
So
Same.
for anyone that like whose brain needs refreshing in terms of the Christchurch attacks,
so in 2019, basically, Christchurch was, and it's a place in New Zealand. A gunman entered a mosque and massacred 51 Muslims in the mosque. He had written a 10,000-word manifesto citing white supremacy as the reason for what he did, why he did what he did, basically. That was in 2019, so just 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was such a significant event because I remember we've touched on this before, and I remember you saying how that was a turning point for you in terms of your own stance on this type of thing, the hate crimes and what goes on, Islamophobia, etc. So I think it definitely, speaking as a non-Muslim, but I can still think it sent out a shockwave across the Islamic community, across the world, I would say. So yeah, it's a really sad thing. And first of all, do we think that this movie needs to be made?
No. Listen, let me even tell you something. Yeah, like, look, as a Muslim, let me tell you something. Hollywood is obsessed with us. Like, every time another film comes out about Muslims, another show comes out about Muslims, another documentary comes out about Muslims, I'm just like, why literally come like Mariah Carey? Why are you so obsessed with me? Like, leave us alone, bruv. Like I was saying about them doxers before, go outside and touch some grass. Leave the Muslims alone. It's so weird. Like, they just, oh my God.
You know what it is as well? They probably think that what they're doing is representation.
You know what? Yeah, like, so Jacinda Arden, like, she had been like praised, you know, given a lot of like commendation in the aftermath of the attack because of how she dealt with it. I think like within 48 or 72 hours, the New Zealand government had banned semi-automatic weapons or something like that. And like, okay, yeah, that's great. I mean, those preventative measures should have been there anyway. And I think the thing with New Zealand is that a lot of people point to it, much like Canada, a lot of people point to it as some kind of like liberal utopia, you know, like they're so great and the government is so liberal and people have so many rights and standard of living is so great, but like clearly not. Like, white supremacy was rife enough for a man to write a 10,000-word that's a dissertation, man. You just did a dissertation for free. You could have at least gone to uni and got a degree out of it. Like, this man wrote a 10,000-word like document citing white supremacy. That is how rife it is in that country. I mean, globally, but obviously specifically in New Zealand as well. So like that so to commend the New Zealand government when the white supremacy that the government is steeped in facilitated the attack in the first place, again, is just bizarre. Secondly, like, you shouldn't be making Hollywood should just leave Muslims alone, period. But if you are gonna do what fans do and make a film about us, like, why is it about Jacinda Arden? 51 Muslims died. 51 Muslims, let me even rephrase, were murdered. And you man are thinking, let's make a film about the white woman in this.
You know what it is as well? Is that the wound is still very much fresh.
100%.
Like, how there's like, what, 2 years? Why? What is the need? Like, this is certainly
it's insensitive.
Insensitive. And it's an infamous historical event. Yeah. But wait for it to actually become history in that sense. Like, before touching it, I'd say at least like 10 years if you were going to do something like that. Like,
so raw still.
It's just happened. It's literally just happened.
And like, In general, I have a problem with, and I do feel uncomfortable with films about things like this that are based on real life things. Like, you know, the film Bowling for Columbine, and the other one, I forget the name, but it's about the one that happened, I want to say in like the Netherlands or Sweden or something, and it was the school holiday camp on the island.
Norway, I think it was, yeah.
Norway.
Yeah.
Like, because they're based on real events and they're recreating what happened in real life. That must be so traumatic to be even closely associated to anyone that's been through that event in particular or something of that nature. Like, even if it's been a decade or more, or do you know what I mean? To me, something doesn't sit right about it.
Yeah. And also, sorry, go on, Carlos.
I was gonna say as well, like, if we think about double standards, do we see people making movies about the 7/7 tube attack things?
Exactly.
Do we see people making documentaries? Yes, but do we see people making dramas about what happened in 9/11?
And then focusing it on like Bush.
Yeah, like I'm sure they're out there maybe, but like, you know what I mean, it's not like people don't touch this stuff because they know if they touch it, people are gonna get offended, and they care because and they rightfully so, but they only care because it's about white people.
Yeah, the victims are white. Exactly.
But when it comes to these Islamic attacks, it's like, say 2 years afterwards,
But that's what I mean. So when we talk about like Hollywood's obsession with like Muslims, you guys know what Orientalism is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So but for those who don't know, Orientalism is basically like it's coined by Edward Said, and Orientalism. The short version is the study of by the West of the people of like the East and basically people in the global South, but in a way that fetishizes and otherizes those people. And that's exactly what it is. It's as though like the way Hollywood treats Muslim subjects in the reproduction of art and culture and media, it's like subject constitution, right? So they essentially make those characters artifacts, right? They otherize, they exoticize, they fetishize those characters and those people and the community at large. And that is kind of really the sinister side of this, you know. Obviously, like on a surface level, they just shouldn't, but actually when you look deeper into like the psychology of it, and the way that the Western media is treating it's just really, it's so problematic.
Very divisive. It definitely creates a very them and us narrative.
Yeah.
I think. And then you look at films like, what's the other one, like Zero Dark 30, I want to say, and it was about the hunt for Osama bin Laden, and then absolutely villainized Muslim people and people from Eastern cultures. Like, it was disgusting. And the way they portrayed, like, I want to say it was Afghanistan or the country itself that they actually shot it in. Like, I was just like, God, this is just so inaccurate. And you're just trying to push this narrative forward that you want to push to kind of, especially because it was American. Obviously, America are very, you know, hell bent on creating that narrative, and they did it to tenfold. You know.
I like it's even cute that you're able to name these. There are so many that I can't even name. Like every single time I see it, I'm just like, oh my God. Again, like when I tell you the disdain that I have, because it's just constant. Like I can't honestly, like I like non-Muslims won't be as privy to it because like you just won't notice it in the same way. But as like Muslims who are listening right now, you man will know. Like honestly, it's like every year there's another film, a high-ticket Hollywood film or drama or series or whatever about this role of Muslims as terrorists.
Yeah,
it's so lazy. It's boring. Like Hollywood, like you guys just have no imagination.
Like, and it's on, like, even if you're gonna look past the problematic nature of it, it ruins TV for you guys. Like, literally,
do you know how many like shows and films that I just can't, that I refuse to watch because of how problematic it is. Even as soon as there's, even if it's like a subsidiary storyline or a subsidiary character, as soon as I hear Muslim and anything about fundamentalism, gone. That's it. You're in the bin. You're boring. You're lazy. You're rubbish. Like.
Like, it's
What can you even say at this point, to be honest?
I know,
I'm
like, just like...
It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Like,
it's very tired. It's a very tired theme to carry on.
It's so tired.
Pushing it at this point.
It's so tired. Like, you guys are actually begs. Like, Hollywood is actually so beggy.
DBI.
Trust me.
So, if we were able to control the world and everyone in it, what would be the way to move past this? Like, because I don't want to just put out a blanket statement and say, like, oh, people should just, like, what's called blind casting and, like, just not...
Sorry,
like...
I want to say one more thing as well. Sorry, Carlos, to cut you off, but you know, when these, like I said before, these are high ticket Hollywood films, right? Massive industry, and these are capitalist ventures that these films are to make capital. Who's the money going towards? You know, you're making a film about 51 victims, or the white savior and the 51 victims. That's another thing as well that we didn't mention. Like, essentially, especially in this film, when we talk about Jacinda Arden and then the Christchurch attack, the film is about white saviorism. Essentially, it's about how Jacinda Arden came in and she, like, healed this community. This is what I'm predicting, because what other reason would they have to make a film about her in all of this, right?
Yeah.
So it's a film that champions white saviorism. But, like, who's that money going towards? Like, you're using something deeply, deeply traumatic and rupturing that happened to a specific community that community will likely never... And bearing in mind, the Muslim community in New Zealand is tiny. It's tiny. Like, obviously, it sent reverberations throughout the Muslim Ummah globally, but specifically the Muslims in New Zealand for decades to come. Like, there's a rupture in that community now that will not be healed. Are they getting paid reparations?
Yeah.
Like, will they see any of the profits from the movie?
Probably not.
Yeah, I can wager not.
The whole problem are people who are listening to this and don't understand the concept of, like, white saviorism as well. Most of the time, they're solving, quote unquote, mess that white people created in the first place. So it's kind of like...
Exactly.
Like, well done, but it's also like, it's kind of like the least that you could do.
Like, who created white supremacy? It ain't white saviorism. You're just cleaning up your own mess, bro.
You don't praise a fish for swimming.
Trust me.
My favorite quote.
If so, to answer your question, if I rule the world, bro, I'll just get them man to leave us alone. Honestly, I'll just get them to leave us alone. I would just Muslim shows made about Muslim characters by Muslim people. There was a show actually on Channel 4 a few years ago. There was a show in Channel 4 a few years ago. I don't know if you guys remember it, or at the time, my week as a Muslim woman.
Oh yeah.
Basically, what they did was they got a white woman to do brown face. They got this woman in brown face, so basically posed her as a Muslim woman, and then got her to live a week as a Muslim, like in a, you know, full hijabi burqa, like gave her like yellow stained teeth, put her in brown face, so that this woman can finally believe that Islamophobia is real, that racism is real. And it's like, oh my, these guys, the acrobatics that they will do to deny racism is ridiculous. All of that, you gave a woman yellow stained teeth when you could have just listened to her in the first place. You could have just taken her for her word, but instead you wanted her to sit 5 hours in makeup. He wanted to hire a makeup artist to make her look like a Muslim woman, when you could have just listened to what real Muslim women were telling you.
That's without going into the whole, like, yellow stained teeth thing, like, what that... Have you seen, like, the royal family's teeth? Like, that's not, like... Brown people aren't known for having bad teeth. That's your own, like, makeup in your head, like, you know what I mean?
Were you
like...
man even bathing before we came and taught you how? Yeah, stick with that one. Your queen stinks.
Allegedly.
That's my
allegedly.
That's allegedly. That's my opinion.
Oh dear.